Story 1. I never thought I'd be posting here, but after what happened at the DMV last week, I need to get this off my chest. For context, I'm a veteran who served 2 tours overseas. I came back with some pretty severe PTSD that makes everyday tasks challenging. Crowds, loud noises, and sudden movements can trigger panic attacks that leave me completely unable to function. That's where my service dog comes in. He's a German Shepherd mix trained specifically to help with my condition. He can sense when I'm about to have an episode and will do deep pressure therapy, create space around me in crowds, and even fetch my medication if needed. He wears a bright red vest that clearly says, "Service Dog Do Not Pet," along with all the proper identification tags. The incident happened on a Tuesday morning when I went to renew my driver's license. I'd been putting it off for weeks because the DMV is exactly the kind of crowded, stressful environment that triggers my symptoms. But my license was about to expire, so I finally forced myself to go during what I hoped would be a quieter time. I got there early, took a number, and found a corner seat where I could keep my back to the wall and see the whole room. My dog settled beside me, doing his job perfectly. Everything was going smoothly until she walked in. She was probably in her 30s, pushing a stroller with a toddler who was already throwing a tantrum about something. The moment she saw my dog, her whole demeanor changed. She marched over to the counter first, got her number, then made a beeline straight for me. "Karen, excuse me, why do you have a dog in here? This is a government building." "Me, he's a service dog. He's legally allowed to be here." I kept my voice calm and pointed to his vest, hoping that would be the end of it. My dog didn't even look up from his position beside me. "Karen, service dog. You don't look disabled to me. What's wrong with you exactly?" "Me, I don't have to disclose my medical information to you." This is where it started getting weird. She bent down and started making kissy noises at my dog, trying to get his attention. When he ignored her, she got visibly annoyed. "Karen, this dog is clearly not trained properly. Look how sad he looks just lying there. He should be playing with my daughter, running around, being a real dog." Her toddler had stopped crying and was now reaching toward my dog from the stroller. I gently moved my chair back a bit. "Me, please don't try to distract him. He's working." "Karen, working? He's just lying there doing nothing. This is animal abuse. Dogs need exercise and love, not to be forced to sit in boring government buildings all day." At this point, other people were starting to stare. I could feel my anxiety rising, which my dog immediately sensed. He shifted position to provide more pressure against my leg. "Karen, see? He's trying to get away from you. This poor animal belongs with a real family who will actually love him and let him be happy." Before I could react, she actually reached down and grabbed my dog's leash, trying to unclip it from his vest. My dog stayed perfectly still, but I jumped up so fast my chair fell over. "Me, don't touch my dog. You cannot touch a service animal. Karen, I'm rescuing him from abuse. Look at how miserable he is." She was now actively trying to wrestle the leash away while her toddler started crying again from all the commotion. Several people had pulled out their phones to record what was happening. "Me, stop. You're committing a crime right now. DMV employee, ma'am, you need to step away from that service dog immediately." A DMV employee had come over, but Karen just got louder. "Karen, this man is abusing this animal. I demand to speak to your manager right now. Someone needs to take this dog away from him and give it to a family that will actually care for it." DMV employee, "Ma'am, there is no manager. This is a DMV office, and you cannot touch that service dog." "Karen, what do you mean there's no manager? Every business has a manager. I want to speak to whoever is in charge of this entire building right now." She was still holding onto my dog's leash while yelling. My panic attack was starting to hit full force, but my dog couldn't do his job properly because this woman had him partially restrained. "Me, let go of my dog now or I'm calling the police." "Karen, call them. They'll arrest you for animal cruelty." This dog deserves better than being chained to some faker who's probably just pretending to be disabled for attention. That did it. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911 while she continued ranting about how service dogs were a scam and how I was stealing a perfectly good pet from a deserving family. The police showed up within 10 minutes. By then, Karen had finally let go of the leash, but was still blocking my path and demanding that the officers confiscate my dog. Officer: Ma'am, what seems to be the problem here? Karen: This man is abusing this poor dog. He's forcing it to sit here all day doing nothing instead of letting it play and be happy. I was trying to save it. Officer: Sir, can you explain what happened? Me: She tried to steal my service dog. She grabbed his leash and tried to unclip it while he was working. I showed the officer my dog's credentials and explained about my PTSD. Meanwhile, Karen was getting more agitated. Karen: He's lying. He doesn't look disabled. I bet he just bought that vest online. Check his medical records. Officer: Ma'am, I need you to calm down. Interfering with a service animal is a serious crime. Karen: Crime. I was helping the dog. Someone needs to arrest him for fraud. The officer explained to her that attempting to take someone's service animal was attempted theft, and that interfering with a working service dog was a federal offense. Her face went completely white. Karen: I was just trying to help the dog find a better home. My daughter loves dogs. Officer: Ma'am, you're going to need to come with me. As they led her away in handcuffs, she was still screaming about how unfair it all was and how I was the real criminal. Her toddler was crying in the stroller, and a family member had to be called to pick up the child. The DMV supervisor came out and apologized profusely. They processed my license renewal immediately without making me wait for my number. As I was leaving, they mentioned that Karen was being banned from all DMV locations for life. I found out later from the officer who took my statement that she was charged with attempted theft of a service animal, which is a felony in our state, plus disturbing the peace and interfering with a service dog. Apparently, she tried to argue in court that she was performing a citizen's rescue of an abused animal. The judge was not amused. She got 6 months probation, a hefty fine, and had to complete community service at an animal shelter, where they educated her about what service dogs actually do. She also had to pay for my therapy sessions after the incident triggered a major PTSD episode that set back my progress by months. My dog was a champion through the whole thing. Even while being grabbed and yelled at, he never left my side or showed any aggression. That's the difference between a trained service animal and a pet, which is something Karen learned the hard way. I still can't believe someone actually tried to steal my service dog because they thought he looked sad. Some people really have no boundaries. Story 2. So this happened last month at my daughter's 8th birthday party, and I'm still processing how crazy it got. Let me give you some background first. My husband and I moved to our current neighborhood about 3 years ago. It's a quiet street with mostly families, and everyone keeps to themselves for the most part. We know our immediate neighbors, the elderly couple next door who always wave when we're getting mail, and the family across the street with twin boys around my daughter's age. We've had a few brief conversations over the years, nothing more than polite small talk about the weather or compliments on each other's gardens. There's this one house about 4 doors down where this woman lives with her son who looks to be around the same age as my daughter. I've seen them around the neighborhood, but we've never actually spoken. She always seemed to be in a hurry, rushing to her car or quickly walking past without making eye contact. Her son goes to a different school than my daughter, so they don't really know each other either. For my daughter's birthday this year, she really wanted a trampoline park party. She's been asking for months, so we booked a party package at the local jump zone. It included 2 hours of jumping time, pizza, cake, and goodie bags for 12 kids. My daughter invited her closest friends from school and a couple of kids from her soccer team. The twins from across the street were invited too, since she plays with them sometimes. Everything was going perfectly. The kids were having a blast jumping around, and I was feeling pretty good about pulling off a successful party. My daughter was glowing with happiness, bouncing between different trampolines with her friends. The pizza had just arrived, and we were getting ready to sing Happy Birthday when this woman I'd never actually spoken to came storming through the entrance. She was dragging her son behind her, and he looked absolutely mortified. The poor kid was trying to pull away from her grip, but she was determined to make her entrance. She marched straight up to me with this wild look in her eyes. "Karen, excuse me, are you the mother throwing this party?" "Me? Yes. Can I help you with something?" "Karen, I cannot believe you would exclude my son from this party. We live on the same street as you people." I was completely taken aback. All the kids had stopped what they were doing and were staring at us. My daughter looked confused and a little scared. "I'm sorry, but I don't think we've ever met. I invited my daughter's friends to her birthday party." "Karen, that's exactly the problem. Your daughter should be friends with my son. We're neighbors. This is discrimination." "It's not discrimination. It's just that the kids don't really know each other. They go to different schools." "Karen, well, we're here now, so we'll need a spot for my son and one of those goodie bags I saw you handing out." She actually pushed past me and started leading her son toward the trampolines. The kid looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. He kept whispering to his mom that he wanted to go home, but she wasn't having it. "Ma'am, this is a private party. You can't just join without being invited." "Karen, my son has just as much right to be here as any of these other kids. We pay taxes in this neighborhood too." At this point, other parents were starting to notice the commotion. My husband came over to see what was happening, and I could see the party host from the trampoline park heading our way too. "Karen, and another thing, the trauma you've caused my son by excluding him is going to require therapy. I'm going to need you to reimburse me for the emotional damages." Are you serious right now? This is an 8-year-old's birthday party." "Karen, dead serious. Do you have any idea how it feels to see all the neighborhood kids going to a party and not be invited? He's been crying for hours." Her son tugged on her sleeve and whispered that he didn't even know my daughter's name, but she shushed him aggressively. The trampoline park host approached us with a concerned look. "Host, is everything okay over here?" "Karen, no, everything is not okay. This woman is discriminating against my child, and I want to speak to your manager immediately." "Host, ma'am, this is a private party. If you weren't invited, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "Karen, I'm not going anywhere until my son gets what he deserves. Where's his goodie bag?" She actually walked over to the table where we had the goodie bags set up and grabbed one. Then she started going through it, pulling out the candy and small toys. "Karen, this is pathetic. Is this all you're giving the kids? My son deserves better than this cheap garbage." That's when my husband stepped in. "Husband, that's enough. You need to leave right now." "Karen, I'm not leaving without compensation for the emotional distress you've caused my family." The trampoline park host had already called security at this point. Within minutes, 2 security guards showed up. Karen immediately started screaming about how unfair everything was and how we were all conspiring against her son. Security guard, "Ma'am, you need to leave the premises immediately." "Karen, this is a public place. I have every right to be here." Security guard, "Actually, this is a private business, and you're trespassing at a private party." They had to escort her out while she was yelling about lawyers and lawsuits. Her poor son was crying by this point, completely humiliated by his mother's behavior. As they were walking out, she turned around and pointed at me. "Karen, you haven't heard the last of this. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are." After they left, it took a while to get the party back on track. The kids were shaken up, and several parents asked if we needed them to stay as witnesses in case she actually tried to sue us. We managed to salvage the celebration, but it definitely put a damper on what should have been a fun day. I thought that was the end of it, but oh boy, was I wrong. The next morning, my phone started blowing up with notifications. She had posted a long rant on our neighborhood's social media group, complete with photos she had somehow taken of the party location. Her post was a masterpiece of entitlement, claiming we had maliciously excluded her son and describing in dramatic detail how traumatized he was by our cruel discrimination. But here's where it gets good. The neighbors started responding, and it wasn't going the way she expected. Person after person commented that they had never seen her interact with our family. The elderly couple next door posted that in 3 years, she had never once acknowledged them when they tried to wave hello. The family across the street mentioned that she had actually been rude to them when their ball accidentally rolled into her yard. Then people started posting screenshots. Screenshots of previous posts where she had complained about all the annoying neighborhood kids and how she wished people would control their children. Screenshots of her comments on other posts where she had been nasty to various neighbors over everything from parking to holiday decorations. The best part was when someone posted a screenshot from just 2 weeks earlier where she had written a whole rant about how she didn't want her son mixing with the other kids in the neighborhood because she was trying to protect him from bad influences. Her original post got absolutely destroyed. People were calling her out left and right, and the evidence was overwhelming that she had never made any effort to be friendly with anyone, let alone our family. Within 24 hours, she had deleted the post and apparently left the neighborhood group entirely. A few days later, we got a call from the trampoline park letting us know that she had been permanently banned from all their locations after she tried to show up and demand a refund for a party she had never paid for. The cherry on top came a week later when her son started at my daughter's school after his previous school apparently had some issues with his mother's behavior. The kid is actually really sweet and has become friends with my daughter. He apologized for his mom's actions and told us she does stuff like this all the time. I feel terrible for that kid having to deal with a mother like that, but I'm glad the neighborhood finally saw her true colors. Sometimes people really do expose themselves when they don't get their way. Story 3. I've been working at Greenleaf Cafe for about 2 years now, and let me tell you, I've seen some wild stuff. This place is one of those trendy vegan spots downtown where people come to feel good about themselves while sipping $15 smoothies. Don't get me wrong, I love working here most days. The pay is decent, my coworkers are cool, and the boss actually cares about us. But some customers really test your patience. I started working here right after I dropped out of college. My parents weren't thrilled about the whole taking a break from school thing, but I was burned out from pre-med classes and needed to figure out what I actually wanted to do with my life. This job was supposed to be temporary while I got my head straight, but honestly, I've learned more about dealing with people here than I ever did in any textbook. The restaurant industry teaches you to spot trouble from a mile away. There are certain types of customers who walk in with this energy that just screams, "I'm about to make your day difficult." You know, the ones they scan the room like they're looking for something to complain about before they even sit down. So when this woman walked in with her kid last Tuesday afternoon, my radar immediately went off. She had that entitled posture, head held high like she owned the place, and she was already talking loudly on her phone about how these places never get it right. Her son looked embarrassed, trailing behind her while she gestured dramatically. They sat down at table 6. And I grabbed 2 menus before heading over. Me, hi there, welcome to Greenleaf. Can I start you both with some water? Karen, actually, I need to speak to your manager immediately. I have severe food allergies and I need to make sure this place can accommodate me properly. The kid rolled his eyes, which should have been my first clue. Me, of course. I'm actually trained on all our allergen protocols. What allergies are we working with today? Karen, I have a life-threatening gluten allergy. Like, I could literally die if even a crumb of gluten touches my food. This is very serious. Now, I've served plenty of people with celiac disease and genuine gluten sensitivities. They're usually pretty knowledgeable about what they can and can't eat, and they ask specific questions about preparation methods. This woman was being way too dramatic. Me. Absolutely. We take allergies very seriously here. We have several gluten-free options, and we can prepare them in a separate area to avoid cross-contamination. Karen, good. I'll need the gluten-free pasta with extra vegetables, but I want the regular marinara sauce, not that gluten-free stuff. And make sure you tell the kitchen about my allergy. I paused. Our regular marinara sauce isn't gluten-free, it's thickened with wheat flour. Me, I'm sorry, but our regular marinara actually contains gluten. I can offer you our gluten-free marinara, or we have a really delicious olive oil and herb sauce that's naturally gluten-free. Karen, are you serious right now? I'm telling you I have a deadly allergy and you're trying to upsell me. Me, ma'am, I'm not trying to upsell anything. I'm trying to keep you safe. The regular marinara has wheat flour in it. She huffed and agreed to the gluten-free marinara, but made a big show of how disappointed she was. Her son ordered a simple veggie burger, looking mortified the whole time. Things got weird when their food came out. I double-checked with the kitchen to make sure everything was prepared safely, even though I was starting to doubt how serious her allergy really was. She complained that her pasta was too al dente and demanded extra Parmesan cheese. When I brought the cheese, she suddenly remembered she was also lactose intolerant. Then came dessert time. She wanted our chocolate cake, which isn't gluten-free. Karen, I'll have the chocolate cake, but I need you to remove the flour from it. Me, I'm sorry, what? Karen, take the flour out. I told you I'm allergic to gluten. Me, ma'am, that's not how baking works. The flour is mixed into the cake batter. I can offer you our gluten-free brownies instead. Karen, this is ridiculous. I've been suffering through this subpar meal, and now you won't even accommodate a simple dessert request. Where's your manager? My manager came over and I explained the situation. He was super professional and offered her a complimentary gluten-free dessert for the inconvenience. But that wasn't good enough. Karen, I want the chocolate cake for free. I shouldn't have to pay for an inferior dessert because of my disability. Manager, ma'am, I'm happy to comp the brownie, but I can't serve you something that contains gluten when you've told us you have a severe allergy. That's when she really lost it. Karen, fine. You know what? I think I'm already having a reaction from cross-contamination. She started clutching her throat and making these exaggerated gasping sounds. Other customers were staring now, looking concerned. Karen, I can't breathe. This is what happens when restaurants don't take allergies seriously. Someone call an ambulance. Her son looked absolutely mortified. My manager was reaching for his phone when the kid finally had enough. Kid, Mom, stop it. You're being crazy. Karen, not now, sweetie. Mommy is having an allergic reaction. Kid, no you're not. You had pancakes for breakfast this morning. Regular pancakes with syrup. The entire restaurant went dead silent. Every conversation stopped. Every fork paused halfway to every mouth. You could literally hear the jazz music playing in the background. Karen's fake gasping stopped immediately. Her face went bright red. Karen, that's different. Those were special pancakes. Kid, no they weren't. They were from the box in the pantry, and you ate my leftover sandwich yesterday too. Other customers started murmuring. One woman at the next table shook her head in disgust. An older man actually said, "Shame on you," loud enough for everyone to hear. My manager stepped forward. Manager, ma'am, I think it's time for you to leave, and please don't come back. Karen, you can't ban me. This is discrimination. Manager, actually, I can ban you for attempting to defraud my business and wasting everyone's time with a fake medical emergency. She tried to argue, but the whole restaurant was staring at her now. People were taking out their phones. Her son was tugging on her arm, begging her to just leave. Kid, Mom, please, let's just go. Everyone's looking. She finally grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door, but not before turning back one last time. Karen, this place has terrible service anyway. The food was cold and the portions were tiny. Random customer, lady, just leave already. The whole restaurant actually applauded when the door closed behind her. I've never seen anything like it. Her poor kid looked back through the window and mouthed sorry to me before they got in their car. My manager comped dessert for everyone who witnessed the scene, and the rest of my shift was actually pretty great. People kept coming up to tell me how well I handled it, and my tips were amazing that day. The best part, about an hour later, the kid came back by himself. Turns out they lived just a few blocks away, and he had walked back. Kid, I'm really sorry about my mom. She does stuff like this sometimes. Me, hey, you don't need to apologize for her behavior. That took guts to speak up. Kid, I was just embarrassed. She's been doing this fake allergy thing at different restaurants for months. I kept telling her it was wrong. I felt so bad for this kid. I grabbed him a free cookie and told him he was welcome anytime, with or without his mom. He seemed like a good kid stuck in a bad situation. The story spread through our local restaurant community pretty quickly. Apparently, she tried the same stunt at 2 other places downtown, but word got around, and now she's basically banned from every decent restaurant in the area. Sometimes I wonder if she learned anything from getting called out so publicly, but honestly, people like that rarely do. At least her son learned something about standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. That kid's going to be just fine. Story 4. My name's, well, let's just say I'm a 17-year-old high school student who's been trying to save up money for a car. My parents said if I could come up with half the down payment, they'd help me get something decent for my 18th birthday. The problem is, I work part-time at a grocery store, but between school and my shifts, I wasn't making nearly enough fast enough. That's when my younger brother and his 2 friends came up with what seemed like a brilliant idea. We live in Minnesota, and when winter hits, it hits hard. The weather forecast was calling for the biggest blizzard we'd seen in years. They were predicting 2 feet of snow overnight. My brother suggested we could make some quick cash by going door to door offering to shovel driveways after the storm passed. I thought it was actually pretty smart. We had 4 strong backs, plenty of shovels, and people would definitely need help. Plus, it would be honest work, not like we were asking for handouts. The blizzard hit exactly as predicted. I've never seen snow come down that hard or that fast. By morning, our entire neighborhood looked like something out of a Christmas movie, except nobody was singing carols. Cars were completely buried, and most driveways had become impassable white mountains. After breakfast, we bundled up in our warmest clothes, grabbed every shovel we could find, and headed out. The plan was simple: knock on doors, offer to shovel for $20 per driveway, and work our way through the neighborhood. Our first stop was Mrs. Rodriguez's house. She's this sweet elderly lady who lives alone and always waves when we walk by. Me, good morning, Mrs. Rodriguez. We're going around the neighborhood offering to shovel driveways. Would you like us to clear yours out? Mrs. Rodriguez, oh, you boys are lifesavers. I was just looking at all this snow wondering how I was going to get my car out. How much would it cost? Me, $20. And we'll make sure it's completely clear. Mrs. Rodriguez, that sounds perfect. Let me get my purse. She paid us up front and even brought us hot chocolate while we worked. It took about 45 minutes, but we got her driveway looking like new. She was so happy she tipped us an extra $5. Feeling confident, we moved on to the next house. That's where we met Karen. Karen looked like she was in her 40s. With this perfectly styled hair that probably took an hour to do, even though it was barely 9 in the morning. She answered the door before we even had a chance to knock, like she'd been watching us through her window. Karen, what are you kids doing going door to door? Me, we're offering to shovel driveways. Ma'am, $20, and we'll have yours cleared in less than an hour. Karen, do you have a business license? I was confused. A business license? We were just some teenagers with shovels. Me, we're just trying to help neighbors and earn some money. It's not really a business. Karen, everything is a business if you're charging money. You can't just go around scamming people without proper permits. My brother, We're not scamming anyone. Mrs. Rodriguez was really happy with our work. Karen, I don't care. This is illegal. You're running an unlicensed business operation. She slammed the door in our faces. We just stood there for a minute, not really sure what to do. We were just shoveling snow, not running some elaborate con game. We decided to ignore her and keep going. The next few houses went great. Mr. Johnson hired us immediately, and so did the young couple with the new baby. Everyone seemed grateful for the help, and we were making good money. We were halfway through clearing Mr. Johnson's driveway when the police car pulled up. A uniformed officer got out and walked over to us. He looked pretty annoyed, like this was the last thing he wanted to deal with during a blizzard. Officer, are you the kids someone called about? Me, I guess so, sir. We're just shoveling driveways. Officer, someone reported that you're running an illegal business operation and scamming people. Is that true? Me? No, sir. We're just trying to earn some money helping our neighbors. Look, Mrs. Rodriguez and Mr. Johnson both paid us, and they're happy with our work. The officer looked around at the perfectly clear driveway we were working on, then at our shovels and the small stack of $20 bills I had in my pocket. Officer, how much are you charging? My brother, $20 per driveway. Officer, and you're actually doing the work? Me, yes, sir. We spent almost an hour on Mrs. Rodriguez's driveway, and it looks perfect now. Officer, where are your parents? Do they know what you're doing? Me, my mom knows. She said it was a good idea as long as we were honest and worked hard. About this time, Karen came marching out of her house wearing a big winter coat over what looked like pajamas. Karen, officer, thank goodness you're here. These children are going door to door running some kind of scam. They don't have business licenses, and they're probably not even insured. What if someone gets hurt? The officer turned to look at her, and I could see his expression getting more irritated. Officer, ma'am, these kids are shoveling snow. They're not running a scam. Karen, but they're charging money. That makes it a business. Businesses need licenses. Officer, ma'am, kids don't need business licenses to shovel driveways or mow lawns. This is perfectly legal. Karen, well, what if they damage someone's property? What if they get hurt and sue? Officer, ma'am, did you actually see them damage anything or hurt anyone? Karen, well, no, but... Officer, and did any of your neighbors complain about their work? Karen, that's not the point. They could be criminals for all we know. The officer looked back at us 4 teenagers standing in a snowbank with shovels, probably looking like the least threatening criminals in history. Officer, boys, has anyone complained about your work or asked for their money back? Me, no sir. Everyone's been really happy. Mrs. Rodriguez even gave us hot chocolate. Officer, have you damaged anyone's property? My brother, no sir. We're being really careful. The officer nodded and walked back over to Karen, who was starting to look less confident. Officer, ma'am, I need to see your identification. Karen, why? I'm the one who called you. Officer, because you filed a false police report, and you've wasted emergency resources during a blizzard when we need to be helping people with actual emergencies. Karen, this is an emergency. These kids are... Officer, ma'am, these kids are doing honest work. There's nothing illegal about what they're doing. However, filing a false report is illegal. I watched Karen's face go from smug to shocked to angry in about 3 seconds. Karen, you can't be serious. Officer, I'm completely serious. The fine for filing a false report is $250. And if you call us again about kids doing yard work, I'll recommend additional charges for harassment and abuse of emergency services. Karen, but... Officer, ma'am, while these kids are out here helping their neighbors during a blizzard, you're inside making false reports. Maybe you should think about who's really being a good neighbor here. He handed her the ticket and got back in his car. Before driving away, he rolled down the window. Officer, boys, good for you for helping out your neighbors. Just be careful with the ice under all that snow." Karen stood there holding her ticket, staring at us like we'd personally ruined her life. Then she stomped back into her house and slammed the door so hard I'm surprised it didn't break. We finished Mr. Johnson's driveway, and word must have spread because we had 3 more customers before lunch. By the end of the day, we'd made over $200 and helped 8 families dig out from the storm. The best part? About a week later, Karen's own driveway was still only half cleared, with this sad little path from her front door to where her car was buried. Meanwhile, every house we'd worked on looked perfect. Sometimes karma really is the best revenge. Story 5. I've been teaching 4th grade for 8 years now, and I thought I'd seen everything. I was wrong. It all started when I volunteered to help organize our school's annual spelling bee. As the literacy coordinator, it seemed like a natural fit. I spent weeks preparing word lists, training volunteer judges, and setting up the auditorium. My principal asked me to be the head judge, which meant I'd be the one announcing words and making final decisions. The morning of the spelling bee, parents packed into the auditorium. 25 kids from grades 3 through 5 had made it to the finals. I could see the nervous excitement on their faces as they took their places on stage. Their parents filled the first few rows, phones ready to capture their moment of glory. Everything started smoothly. The 3rd graders went first, and most of them made it through the initial round with simple words like cat and jump. Then came the 4th graders, including this one kid whose mom had been particularly vocal during the parent-teacher conferences about how advanced and gifted her son was. I taught long enough to recognize the type. She was the mom who emailed me every week asking why her son wasn't getting harder homework, why he wasn't in the gifted program, and why the school wasn't challenging him enough. Never mind that her son was performing at grade level in most subjects and below grade level in reading. When her son's turn came up, I announced his word clearly. Friend. The word is friend. The kid stepped up to the microphone, visibly nervous. He started, F-R-E-I-N-D. Friend, F-R-I-E-N-D. I shook my head gently and spoke into my microphone. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. The correct spelling is F-R-I-E-N-D. Thank you for participating. That's when all hell broke loose. Karen shot up from her seat in the front row like she'd been launched from a cannon. She marched straight toward the stage, her heels clicking angrily on the auditorium floor. Karen, this is ridiculous. You people are targeting my son. I tried to maintain my composure. Ma'am, please return to your seat. The judges made a fair decision. But Karen wasn't having it. She climbed the steps to the stage and grabbed the microphone right out of my hands. Karen, my son is gifted. He's been reading since he was 3. This whole thing is rigged. The auditorium fell completely silent. Parents exchanged uncomfortable glances while their kids watched wide-eyed from the stage. I could see our principal making his way down the aisle, but Karen was just getting started. Karen, I demand a do-over. That word was pronounced wrong. Me, ma'am, I need you to return the microphone and take your seat immediately. Karen, no, I'm going to show everyone how this should be done. What happened next was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. Karen decided she was going to demonstrate proper spelling by going through the word list herself. Karen, friend is spelled F-R-E-A-N-D. See? Easy. The irony was completely lost on her. She had just misspelled the exact same word her son had gotten wrong, but somehow even worse. Me, ma'am, that's also incorrect. Karen, what? No, it's not. Next word. She started grabbing words from my list on the podium. Karen, house, H-O-W-S-E, perfect. A few parents in the audience started laughing, which only made Karen angrier. Karen, people, P-E-P-U-L, there. By this point, even some of the kids on stage were giggling. I noticed one student in the back row holding up her phone, and I realized she was probably recording this whole disaster. Our principal finally reached the stage. He's a calm man who's dealt with difficult parents for 20 years, and his voice was steady and professional. Principal, ma'am, I'm going to need you to leave the stage immediately and return to your seat, or I'll have to ask you to leave the building. Karen, you can't make me leave. My son deserves justice. Principal, your son participated fairly and was eliminated according to the rules. The spelling bee will continue without further interruption. Karen, this is discrimination. I'm calling the superintendent. Principal, that's your right. Security will escort you out. 2 security guards appeared and gently but firmly guided Karen off the stage. As they walked her up the aisle, she kept shouting over her shoulder, Karen, you'll hear from my lawyer. This isn't over. Her son, meanwhile, had left the stage and was hiding behind his dad, who looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. We managed to finish the spelling bee without any more drama. A sweet 5th grader named Emma won with the word sophisticated, which Karen probably couldn't spell either. I didn't think much more about it until the next morning when my phone started buzzing with notifications. The student who had been recording had posted the video on social media, and it was spreading fast. By lunch, it had thousands of views and hundreds of comments. The comments were brutal but hilarious. Did she really spell people as P-E-P-U-L? This woman thinks her kid is gifted but can't spell house. The confidence with which she got every single word wrong is amazing. By the end of the week, the video had gone viral. Local news stations picked it up, and Karen became an internet sensation for all the wrong reasons. The principal received dozens of calls from parents who had seen the video, mostly expressing support for how he handled the situation. 2 weeks later, Karen showed up at a school board meeting demanding an apology and threatening to sue for public humiliation. The board watched the video and politely declined her request. The best part came a month later when we received a formal letter from the district. Karen had been banned from attending any future school events for the safety and sanity of the staff. The principal framed it and hung it in his office. Her son ended up transferring to a private school the following year. I felt bad for the kid. He was just a normal student with a mother who couldn't accept reality. As for me, I learned to always have security on standby during school events. You never know when someone might completely lose their mind over a spelling bee. The video still gets shared every few months when it makes the rounds again. Karen became a cautionary tale about helicopter parenting and entitlement. Sometimes I show it to new teachers as an example of what not to do when dealing with difficult parents. I still volunteer to judge the spelling bee every year. It's always much more peaceful now.